A nation divided, the U.S. border crisis. The U.S. southern border is a fault line. It divides not just nations, but also ideologies and perceptions. The issue of illegal immigration, a simmering concern for decades, has reached a boiling point, fueled by political rhetoric and heart-wrenching stories. This is not just about numbers. It's about human lives caught in a complex web of poverty, violence, and the yearning for a better life. This crisis defies easy answers. It demands a nuanced understanding of the factors driving migration, the challenges faced by border communities, and the legal and political battles surrounding immigration. From the fortified fences to the makeshift rafts, the U.S. border is a stark reminder of the human cost of this crisis. It's a story of desperation and resilience, of broken dreams and unwavering hope. Understanding this complex issue requires looking beyond the headlines and delving into the human stories that define the U.S. border crisis. The wall, a concrete curtain or a symbolic gesture? Few symbols have dominated the immigration debate as much as the wall. Championed by former President Donald Trump, the wall was touted as the ultimate solution to illegal immigration, a physical barrier against the perceived threats from the South. Proponents argue that the wall acts as a deterrent, discouraging illegal crossings and stemming the flow of drugs and crime. They point to sections where the wall has been erected, claiming a decrease in illegal activity. However, critics argue that the wall is a costly and ineffective symbol of division. They argue that it fails to address the root causes of migration, merely diverting migrants to more dangerous routes. They highlight the environmental damage and the disruption to border communities caused by the wall's construction. The wall's effectiveness remains a subject of intense debate. While it may deter some, it forces others to take more perilous routes, often falling prey to smugglers and harsh terrain. The question remains, is the wall a viable solution or a costly distraction from addressing the complex realities of the U.S. border crisis? Poverty and violence, the roots of desperation. To understand the migrant surge, one must look beyond the U.S. border. Poverty and violence are the twin engines driving many from their homes in Central America. In countries like El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, economic hardship is a way of life for many. Lack of opportunities, limited access to education, and meager wages make it a daily struggle to survive. The allure of a better life in the U.S., with its promise of jobs and a future, becomes irresistible. Adding to the desperation is the rampant violence plaguing the region. Gangs rule with an iron fist, extorting businesses, recruiting children, and terrorizing communities. The threat of violence is constant, forcing families to make agonizing choices to protect their loved ones. For many, fleeing becomes an act of survival, a desperate attempt to escape the clutches of poverty and violence. They embark on perilous journeys, risking everything for a chance at a better life. Understanding these root causes is crucial to addressing the border crisis, as walls alone cannot extinguish the flames of hope or quell the desperation that fuels migration. Prey to predators. Exploitation on the migrant trail. The journey north is fraught with danger, particularly for those traveling illegally. Migrants, desperate to escape their circumstances, become easy prey for criminal organizations that control the smuggling routes. Coyotes, as the smugglers are known, charge exorbitant fees, promising safe passage to the U.S. However, this promise often comes at a steep price. Migrants are crammed into stifling trucks, forced to traverse treacherous terrain, and subjected to inhumane conditions. Women and children are particularly vulnerable. They face the constant threat of sexual assault and are often trafficked into forced labor or prostitution. The journey becomes a nightmare, marked by fear, abuse, and uncertainty. The lack of legal pathways and the desperation to escape create a fertile ground for exploitation. Strengthening border security without addressing the factors driving migration only empowers these criminal networks, pushing migrants further into the shadows. Border towns on the front line, a tale of two realities. The impact of the border crisis is most acutely felt in the towns and cities that straddle the U.S.-Mexico border. These communities are on the front lines, grappling with the human cost of this complex issue. For some, the influx of migrants brings economic benefits. New businesses sprout up, catering to the needs of those passing through. Churches and nonprofit organizations step up, providing food, shelter, and medical aid. Compassion and empathy drive their actions, seeing migrants not as statistics, but as fellow human beings in need. However, others feel overwhelmed. They see their communities strained by the influx, struggling to provide adequate resources and services. They worry about the impact on schools, hospitals, and social services already stretched thin. Fear and uncertainty fuel anxieties about safety and the changing demographics of their communities. The border crisis has exposed a deep divide not just between nations, but also within communities. Addressing these concerns requires a nuanced approach that balances compassion with practical solutions, ensuring that border communities are not left to shoulder the burden alone. Seeking refuge, the labyrinth of legal pathways. While much of the focus centers on illegal crossings, it's crucial to remember that seeking asylum is a legal right. Those fleeing persecution in their home countries have the right to apply for protection in the U.S. However, navigating the asylum process is a daunting task. The system is complex, backlogged, and often overwhelming, particularly for those who have endured trauma and hardship. Many asylum seekers, unfamiliar with U.S. law and lacking resources, find themselves lost in a bureaucratic maze. The Trump administration's policies, including the Remain in Mexico policy, further complicated the process, forcing asylum seekers to wait in dangerous border towns while their cases were processed. These policies, while aiming to deter frivolous claims, have created additional hardships for legitimate asylum seekers. Creating a more humane and efficient asylum system is crucial. This requires providing adequate resources, legal assistance, and support to those seeking refuge, ensuring that their cases are fairly and expeditiously adjudicated. A house divided, the politics of immigration. The U.S. border crisis is not just a humanitarian crisis, it's a political minefield. Immigration has become a deeply polarizing issue, dividing Americans and stymieing efforts to find common ground. Democrats generally advocate for a more compassionate approach. They call for comprehensive immigration reform, including a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants already living in the U.S. They emphasize the economic contributions of immigrants and advocate for humane border policies. Republicans, on the other hand, tend to favor a more restrictive approach. They prioritize border security, advocating for increased enforcement, stricter immigration laws, and measures to deter illegal crossings. They argue for merit-based immigration, prioritizing skills and education over family reunification. These differing viewpoints have led to gridlock in Washington, hindering efforts to pass meaningful immigration reform. The issue has become a political football, used to score points and galvanize bases, often at the expense of finding practical solutions. Beyond walls and rhetoric, a path forward. The U.S. border crisis demands a comprehensive and compassionate response that goes beyond simplistic solutions and political rhetoric. Addressing this complex issue requires a multi-pronged approach. Firstly, tackling the root causes of migration is crucial. This means working with Central American countries to address poverty, violence, and corruption. Investing in economic development, education, and security can help create opportunities and improve living conditions, making migration a choice rather than a necessity. Secondly, creating legal pathways for migration is essential. Expanding visa programs, streamlining the asylum process, and providing opportunities for legal work can help reduce incentives for illegal crossings while addressing labor needs. Thirdly, securing the border in a humane and effective manner is important. This means investing in technology, intelligence gathering, and strategic deployment of resources. It also means prioritizing the humane treatment of migrants, upholding their rights, and ensuring due process. Finally, fostering a national conversation based on facts, empathy, and a shared commitment to finding solutions is crucial. This requires moving beyond divisive rhetoric and recognizing the humanity of those seeking a better life. The U.S. border crisis is a defining challenge of our time. It's a test of our values, our compassion, and our ability to find common ground. By addressing the root causes, creating legal pathways, securing the border humanely, and engaging in a constructive national dialogue, we can forge a path towards a more just and compassionate immigration system.
So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and let's turn the page on a new adventure together. Get ready to experience books like never before, only on VBook 360. Like, comment, and share to support the channel and keep the video magic alive. Thank you for stopping by. And remember, every video has a story, and every story deserves to be shared. See you in the next video.